Bachman here, joined with Jason Morris and Bianca of IQubed Advisors. We're here to talk about the Sterling First Advantage acquisition. It closed yesterday, Halloween 2024. Jason, share the quick details, and then we'll hop in with our thoughts.
Well, the companies are officially merged together as of yesterday. I don't know the exact time yesterday. Sterling stock is no longer trading. It's all rolled into First Advantage. And if you look on LinkedIn today, you'll see a whole ton of Sterling people changing their job titles and companies over to First Advantage. So it's exciting times. I think for some of the Sterling people and probably some of the First Advantage people, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And that generally happens when you merge two behemoths like that together. But I think over the next year, you'll see some not only exciting things happen with the two companies together, but you'll start seeing the result of the merger and some of the unfortunate, layoffs that can happen or even client attrition that can happen as a result of it.
Yeah, the combined company has estimated annual revenues of $1.5 billion, billion with a B, and the deal was closed at $2.2 billion. Bianca, any thoughts that you have on day one of the new entity?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to my headphones because I'm having a bad hair day. So this is really helpful. Thank you so much. It also helps the audio, but anyway, that's secondary. Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, for everybody else, like the number one thing everybody is thinking about is jobs, job security, job change, which this, really means. I think if you're inside the companies, you're thinking about that. You're also thinking about clients and communication and things like that. These are extremely sophisticated companies. We have good plans in place. I'm positive their communication plan is going to be executed well. They've had a lot of time, obviously, with big public companies to make sure everything is aligned, and then things go slow. So it's anticlimactic in a lot of ways because people show up to work today, nothing dramatically changes, in a broader sense. But yeah, you start seeing some of those public stuff, the LinkedIn stuff, some of these things start to change. So it'll be a slow burn, I think, for most people to kind of sit tight and see what else, starts to adapt. But generally speaking, I think we'll expect these slow, a slow kind of trickle of change and adjustments, client attrition and stuff like that.
I think the watching the process was kind of cool. There's a lot I can't talk about because I was involved with pieces of it. But watching how that, anytime two big companies like that merge, there has to be Justice Department approval. And when they announced they're going to give it a second look, which they did 2 months ago, which just means they're going to investigate a lot further, and both companies have to provide a ton of information, and they have to make a decision within that 2 months whether or not they're going to sue against the merger. So that didn't happen, and I literally it's a 2-month waiting period, and the next day after the 2 months, the merger was allowed to go through. So I imagine there was a lot of work they were able to do during this period, but there's a lot of things they weren't able to discuss or do during this period as well. So the next few weeks will be pretty busy over on that side. I haven't heard anything about any of the C-suite.
Next few weeks, next few months, next few quarters.
Well, I mean, even just straight out of the gate, like what happens with the CEO and the COO and all the leadership over at Sterling, I imagine they wouldn't be there that long, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Josh's role is right now. I don't know what, any of those guys' roles are. So that'll be interesting to watch and see what happens from the sidelines.
Yeah, I have a whole page in notes, and really, like you said, Jason, we've been waiting weeks to turn on the microphone and talk amongst the three of us on this deal. And I'm going to throw out just some rapid fire things that I've been thinking about, and we can chat on them as well. Jason, you made some good points, and Bianca, I'd love your take. Very integrated marketing and communication messages, website devoted Q&A, applicants, consumers, customers, vendors, investors, and a Q&A for each section, I think is cool. Jason, your point today, everybody dropping in there, and the verbiage is exactly the same. I'm happy to share blah blah blah. Everybody's post is exactly the same that we're seeing today. Some stuff from their press releases, which is not new language, but a reminder: unlocking efficiencies, AI-driven automation, quickly executing synergy plans. They still target 50 to 70 in synergy and cost cutting, $1 million, greater tech investments. The one thing I think about, and so those are just, some talking points for us over the next 15 minutes, but what both of you had said, and it's really the one thing I'm thinking about, jobs. There
Yeah.
will be job cuts. I
Yeah.
have no insight. I have no personal insight, but you don't do a deal like this to keep everybody that you had before. This
No.
isn't a deal where the only benefit is, okay, we're going to combine and continue to get whatever those margins are with a bigger company. No, you don't need duplication in a number of different roles. And that is really glass half empty insight from us. And I know that there are thousands of people inside of both companies that are thinking about this. I absolutely believe that there will be job cuts in the next few weeks, months, quarters, and our heart goes out to those people that are affected.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it from from a 60,000 feet. Like what's important, what's not important, what can you do with and without. And I mean, finance is one thing that'll probably roll into one of the companies and not use both teams. HR, those are the naturals. And operations, obviously there'll be some movement. The executive suite will change completely on the Sterling side. So there's things that you kind of know and expect, and there's going to be some things that we don't expect. The unfortunate part of it is you don't need, if First Advantage has 50 top sellers and Sterling has 50 top sellers, like you just don't need 100. So there's going to be 30 to 40 top producing salespeople hitting the market, which brings great opportunity for other CRAs. I mean, I wrote a blog article yesterday, and some of the things that we discuss and talk about here at IQubed Advisors is not everybody's ready to do an acquisition. Writing a check for an acquisition is the easy part, but integrating two companies together is incredibly difficult. So if you're a mid-size or smaller CRA, instead of looking at buying somebody, why not take 2 or 3 salespeople from somebody else that have proven and grow your business organically that way? So I think it presents opportunity not only for client attrition and some of these mid-sized and smaller companies to get new clients, but it's also to bring on talent that knows how to win. So again, I think if you're a smaller CRA and you've got a good relationship with some of these salespeople that might be going, now's the time.
Yeah, and obviously when you're doing a deal of any size, but especially this size, part of the plan, this is part of the plan, part of the, you know, financial analysis and projections that you're going into in terms of, what are repetitive roles, what are the redundancies that we're going to merge together, at what point does that happen? Some of this stuff is going to be kind of dealt with on the back end, but there's already a plan in place, obviously, for what probably the first couple quarters look like. And then obviously when you have corporate communications and internal comms, that's why, you see a very controlled messaging and as it should be. I mean, they have a legal requirement, of course, as a public company to make sure that these things are very accurate, and make sure that we use the right verbiage and stuff like that. But I think that, on the inside, the expectation of when these things are going to happen, it's still being figured out and as it should be, and there's a ton of opportunity, I think. And I think even if you're part of those companies and you're in a sales role, you're in a marketing role, you're in one of these, really, a lot of times, anything's up for grabs. It gives you, if you're even considering or have been thinking about changing jobs, a really good time and a really good opportunity to kind of be like, maybe now's a good time for a change for me. Maybe you've been part of this big corporation and you want to be a top dog at one of these smaller companies. You can really grab onto a new role, a new job title, a more elevated place than maybe you were in part of the larger corporation. So, it might be scary. And of course, like any kind of like job change or, continued anxiety around like what's going to happen next, I think is also an opportunity for folks that are ready for the change, ready for the mix up, and those companies out there in terms of the people who are going to swoop up this great talent, this talent pool that is going to be available. Lots of things to jump onto, lots of things to jump onto in terms of vendors and partnerships as well. You have opportunities that are now more interesting, a kind of different or consolidated marketing approach. And so there's going to be some expected change. And I can only imagine, being a partner to both of these companies at one point, imagine the the forecast that everyone's trying to make adjustments for right now. So heart goes out to you there. But yeah, I do see just like a ton of really cool opportunity here, both from the job front and just kind of relationships
Yeah,
in
great,
between.
great points
One thing that
um, Bianca, your comments around, and you just described the webinar that we have teed up for 2 weeks from now, right? Which
Yeah.
is how do we position ourselves? How do you working? There's 20,000 people working in our industry. How do you position yourselves to take advantage of that next, new opportunity? What should your networking strategies look like? How do you stay current and fresh? Because as we know, change is all around us. Adapt or die. Jason, you had some great comments on new people in the space and opportunities for companies to really acquire new talent. And it's really interesting from our perspective because a bulk of our business is recruiting. And sometimes, you think a stereotypical narrative is, well, when the job market is tight, you need an outside recruiter because you need somebody to go inside of an organization, pull somebody out to benefit a different company, in case our client. But the reverse is true as well. When there are so many people on the market, now it's a fire hose
Yep.
of candidates. How do I
Yep.
make sense of all of these people coming my way? So it's really ironic for us because recruiting it's like a barbell. Recruiting for us is really strong when the market is really tight and when there's a lot of people available. And when a lot of people available, we help companies kind of sift through. It's one thing to the market's tight, I can't fill a role. Okay, and that role just goes unfilled. When the market's loose and you can make a lot of hires, well, now you're actually spending the money. Are you getting anything for it? So the support from us on that end comes from let's get the most bang from it for our buck.
Yeah.
Jason, you have a comment. There's something I want to ask you guys, but go ahead because I know you can say something.
I have two comments. One is, and this is not a commercial for our recruiting services at all. People know we do it, and
No.
if you want to use us, use us. But one of the things I look for when I'm hiring salespeople for our clients is lineage at Sterling. Sterling had the greatest sales organization of any CRA I've ever seen in most industries that I've ever seen. That was a company, and I'll say was a company because it no longer exists. But that was a company that was a sales organization that happened to do background checks.
Yeah.
So
Very much
with
so.
that nutrition is going to be some incredible opportunity for CRAs to jump onto some of that lineage. The second thing I wanted to say earlier, so it's kind of out of order here, but Sterling has done a lot of acquisitions in the past, so they know how to bring two companies together. But First Advantage has done a lot of large acquisitions historically. Don't forget that Choice Point was bought by LexisNexis, and LexisNexis was bought by First Advantage, right? So it was a major acquisition, and I believe they've done a couple of those. None of them come to mind except for VI and LexisNexis, but Lexis was a sizable one. So I think taking some of the knowledge that they gained from that acquisition and putting it into something like this will also be a recipe for success for them.
Whenever there's M&A activity or just interest in things in our space, I usually break it into two camps. The first is it's just a car crash. It's rubbernecking. It's looking at the side of the road. That's interesting. What happened there? Does it affect you? It does if it takes you 15 minutes to get somewhere, but otherwise it doesn't. The other is, yeah, man, this is really going to impact me. How does the market perceive this? 400 CRAs in our space. What are they thinking right now?
If they're smart,
We can all answer it because I think I know what they're thinking right now. Go ahead.
if they're smart, they think about all the opportunity, that comes with it. I mean, our CRM, when we were at Employee Screen IQ, and this is something that Sterling did too, like we kept notes on who everybody uses for the background screening program. We call them and they'd say, I'm already with XYZ company. So what's my next step? I'm spending the next couple of weeks going after every single company in my database that uses one of those two companies and just marketing towards them. That's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I mean, so there's a couple things in that. I would say that again, going back to the point of there's already a plan here, the redundancies, the forecasting, it's sophisticated stuff, but even in any kind of merger and acquisition, I mean, you bake into that the client attrition that's going to come from this. As a matter of fact, it's a great opportunity to fire clients, but that's a whole different category. So what that does translate to, these some 400 other CRAs that are out there is absolutely, and some clients are going to be annoyed. We know that, right? Like it's not going to go their way for whatever reason. I think that like they'll minimize that as much as possible because again, like well-oiled sales machines here, they have a lot of data, they have a lot of manpower behind controlling this, and a well oiled machine, one would hope, to organize how the communication happens, how the platforms change over time, or whatever the client and customer experience are. They're not thinking about this. That being said, again, of course, things are up for grabs. So I think there are some people in the space that are more well positioned to obviously be ready for that attrition than others. But I think it's not just about the next 5 people on the top CRA list that are going to get all the, catch all the attrition. There are a lot of companies that work with these large companies that are very localized, and we talk about that a lot with smaller CRAs about, working in a localized, regionalized manner. So, yeah, a lot of stuff up for grabs. And I just feel like, Kevin, you were chomping at the bits over here. There's something else that we're missing. What is it?
Well, I hear you guys' thoughts on kind of an inside the organization, the integrations. And it reminds me of a phrase I use a lot: accommodate, negotiate, or impose. 2 companies. Right now, 2 systems. And the marketing messages, I love them, really. Shout out to the comms people and the marketing people. I get it. You have to kind of speak out of both sides of your mouth right now. And even as you go through their FAQs, which are really no different than any other acquisitions FAQs. We've seen this. We did it personally. So I'm certainly not taking a shot at the messages. I think they're the right messages. What are those messages? Message number 1 is nothing changes right now. Nothing changes. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. It's okay. Message number 2 is at some point in the future, better, faster, cheaper, more technology, more automation, etc. So it's a status quo to future awesome. I agree with the sentiments you guys had shared. Some people are going to be like, man, I was with that company. I hated them. I had a bad experience. Why do I want to work with a company that's combined? I'm out. And then the same thing happens on either side. Yeah, First Advantage clients or Sterling clients are like, no, man, I left them for you. I'm out. So to Jason's comment, opportunity, great opportunity.
One of the things that I want to play on what you just said, if you look forward 2 years from now, these are 2 companies that have been very progressive with inventing things for the industry. Processes, automation, machine learning, AI. They're going to go all in on that stuff because the industry is going to change. And I think that you'll see considerable change at the top. And people are going to have to follow their lead. I really see them putting forth some incredible innovation in the next couple of years.
Well, and we've said for a long time, and Jason, you made the point, Sterling's a professional sales organization. This, to quote Hyman Roth and Godfather 2, this is the business they've chosen. Right? That's different than the 300 CRAs with annual revenues of less than 5 million. That was a LinkedIn post I made this week. Those are 2 different organizations. We know that there are 6 organizations that control 2/3 of all screening dollars spent. And 50% of all CRAs in our space control 1% of all money spent on background checks. For those companies, I don't know how much changes. Like it's still, and that's okay. Like I don't think the fact that we have one company sitting at $1.5 billion in revenue changes things that much for 300 others in the short term. In the long term, Jason, where I agree with you, and again, we speak out of both sides of our mouth, there will be large enterprise clients that shake out of the new combined organization for whatever reason. It could be the reason I just shared. It could be the reason of hey, my integration went sideways, contract renewal, good time to kick the tires. Like, there's a lot of reasons, and that presents a lot of opportunity for people below to acquire business. So all of these things are kind of going to be true. What our recommendation is for everybody else in the space is look and see where this presents opportunity for you. Does it present opportunity for your salesperson to now go back to those RFPs or bids where you finished second or third and now re-engage? Is it an opportunity to just acquire some of the talent that has shaken loose? Is it an opportunity? Like, there's tremendous opportunity everywhere. Look to pick which lane you're going to benefit from. This is not, I think, an action where one company wins and 399 lose. You can always find a way to win. You can always find a way to compete. What makes me sad? 90% of people aren't going to do anything. They're just going to do the same stuff. And that hurts us because you can win and you can benefit.
Don't hurt people's
90%
Kevin.
of people aren't going to do it. They're not going to do any of the things we're talking about. And that makes me
Stop
sad.
hurting Kevin's feelings, everybody. Stop hurting Kevin's feelings. He's been through a lot with Halloween, and this is the holiday season. There's going to be more LinkedIn posts that are going to bother him. So get your act together, please. You're right. I mean, it's so true. Obviously, the big picture here is what background screening means to the larger HR tech space. How serious of an industry this is for innovation and being a part of the larger talent acquisition technology space and being a very serious member of that space. I think most of those 400 CRAs, 399, whatever it is, don't think of themselves like that. First Advantage absolutely does, and as they should, because if you are an investor in the space, considering any kind of involvement on that level, this is a really good indicator of how cemented and how vital background screening is as a part of I mean, obviously the HR workflow, but in utilizing, new tools, better technology, better workflow experience, and really finding and creating that verification and risk management process to be not just this like old school magnifying glass icon kind of nonsense, but really cutting edge stuff where we're finding out great information, doing it quickly, moving on with our life, and making sure we have safe organizations. So
Thought just popped in my head, Bianca, because I totally agree with you. We are a risk management industry.
yeah.
And that's why the Halloween crap drives me bonkers, right? We are selling safety, security, protection.
Yeah.
We are a blanket of warmth and security to place upon your business. You are not Dunder Mifflin. And every post I see, and again, not just going back to the well on the LinkedIn post, but to Bianca's comment, like, act as if your clients are coming to you not because of your Halloween pictures. They're coming to you because they expect you to serve them and protect them. That is who we are. Professionalize our businesses. So Bianca, you said it. You said it better than I could.
Well,
Don't act like Dunder
final thought on that. Think about that customer experience and the workflow and what we expect out of all the apps that we work in. And that's what First Advantage is serving up, and Sterling has been serving up. And you know what, guys? You're going to have to compete with that, and you're going to have to do well.
And they're winning.
Yeah.
They're winning. All right, final thought time, guys.
Well, this is going to be, this is a closed acquisition, and you're going to see a lot coming in the next 12 months. I think all the bankers I've talked to expect 2025 to be pretty active. There's a bunch of roll-ups that have happened over the last 5 or 7 years that those guys will be ready to exit soon too, and you'll start seeing that come in the next few months, I think.
I'll jump in, Bianca, and then you can wrap up and take us home. My final thoughts: tremendous opportunity for everybody. On a macro level, one company merging with another, and now there being one big behemoth, I think it doesn't matter to 390 of you. 10 of you it might, right? The ones just below 100 million and up CRAs, now you got to kind of contend with one really big guy in the room where you all were kind of pretty similar and you sat at the same table. Now one guy is sitting like an elephant, twice as big as you. So for 10 of you, I think the calculus is going to be different than 390 of you. But there's opportunity for everybody. And unfortunately, I hate to go there, glass half empty, there's going to be layoffs.
The 800-pound, I was going to say, the 800-pound gorilla just ate the big elephant in the room.
Yeah, really.
Straight up. Straight up. Absolutely. We got a troll on our hands, people. No, for real. It's a big one. And guys, you know, I will say to out there, everyone, you know, Kevin teased it a little bit. We're going to have a webinar in a couple weeks, specifically talking, we actually were planning this anyway. So it worked out to some degree that the deal closed when it should have, because we're going to be talking about that kind of post M&A change. We're going to be talking about what it means for job opportunity. We're going to be going into much more detail, specifically focusing on job change in our industry, how to manage that, how to really navigate not just this behemoth of a change, but just the everyday stuff that happens. There's a slew of other M&A activity that happens. And like Jason said, it's going to pop off in 2025. So we got to be prepared. And we're going to have some cool stories and a special guest. Won't tease yet who. We'll save that for the LinkedIn post, but we'll have a special guest join us to talk through some of those changes. So thanks again, everybody, for listening. IQubed Advisors, we're coming at you weekly now, guys. We're coming at you weekly. Please do like, share, subscribe, share our clips, talk to us, tell us everything. Make Kevin feel better over this holiday season about the posts that you see. And thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.